Welcome back to the channel, fight fans. The boxing world just got a seismic shock. Forget everything you thought you knew about Jake Paul's next move, or Anthony Joshua's path to redemption. Because off the radar, under the cloak of whispers and secret phone calls, a deal has been struck that will send shockwaves through the sport for years to come. A fight that no one saw coming. A clash of titans, one rising, one seeking to reclaim his throne, that promises to be a spectacle unlike anything we've ever witnessed. This isn't just a boxing match, it's a paradigm shift. And it's happening. Before we dive deep into this bombshell, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss a single update as this story unfolds. The unthinkable matchup, Paul versus Joshua. For years, the boxing world has been a stage for the predictable. Title fights, mandatories, long-anticipated grudge matches. But then came Jake Paul, the ultimate disruptor. He built an empire on challenging the status quo, on stepping into the ring against names no one expected him to face. From fellow YouTubers to NBA stars, from MMA legends to actual boxing veterans, Paul has consistently defied expectations, creating record-breaking pay-per-views and igniting a new generation of fight fans. And just when you thought he'd reached his peak, after headlining an electrifying event with Mike Tyson and now preparing for a cruiserweight showdown with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Paul has pulled another rabbit out of the hat, one that dwarfs all his previous ventures combined. In a recent, jaw-dropping interview with Ariel Helwani, Paul revealed that a potential bout with none other than Anthony Joshua is not just a pipe dream, not just a casual call-out, but a very real, very tangible possibility for 2026. Let that sink in. The man who started as a YouTube sensation, who fought the youngest heavyweight champion in history in Mike Tyson, and is now stepping into the ring with a former middleweight champion in Chavez Jr., is now eyeing a former unified heavyweight champion, a legitimate, active force in the sport, in Anthony Joshua. This isn't some back-alley exhibition. This is a clash that promises to reshape careers, reputations, and potentially, the very landscape of boxing itself. Think about the trajectory, from influencer boxing to taking on a legend like Tyson, then a seasoned pro like Chavez Jr., and now, to the pinnacle of heavyweight boxing against a man who has stood toe-to-toe with the likes of Vladimir Klitschko, Andy Ruiz Jr., and Alexander Usyk. The audacity of it all is precisely what makes it so compelling. Anthony Joshua's journey has been a roller coaster. After those back-to-back losses to Alexander Usyk, many questioned his future. He'd meticulously steered his career back toward title contention, rebuilding his confidence, sharpening his skills. But then, Daniel Dubois threw a wrench in those plans, a stark reminder of the brutal, unforgiving nature of the heavyweight division. Talks of a much-anticipated all-British showdown with Tyson Fury have circulated for what feels like an eternity, but they largely remain shrouded in uncertainty, especially with Fury's on-again, off-again retirement talks. For Joshua, a high-profile clash with a global phenomenon like Jake Paul isn't just a massive payday, and make no mistake, it will be a significant payday. It could also be the spark that reignites his momentum, placing him squarely back in the global spotlight, even if it's outside the traditional championship picture. The phone call heard around the world. The genesis of this potential megafight lies in a simple, yet utterly profound, phone call. Helwani, ever the investigative journalist, pressed Paul on the rumors surrounding various matchups. One name that surfaced was Carl Froch, the former super middleweight champion and International Boxing Hall of Famer who had reportedly claimed he could take on Jake Paul with one hand tied behind his back. But then, Helwani dropped the real question, and is Joshua a real thing in 2026? Paul's response was immediate, resolute, and frankly, electrifying. Yeah, he confirmed, adding, yeah, we talked on the phone for like 10 minutes. Wow, and we're both down, and I said 2026. He was like, alright, let's get it. And we're going to make it happen. So yeah, I think that's going to be a mega fight next year and something fun to test my skills at heavyweight. Imagine that conversation. Jake Paul, the provocateur, the showman, on the phone with Anthony Joshua, the stoic former champion, discussing a fight that would shatter pay-per-view records and dominate headlines for months. This wasn't a speculative Twitter exchange or a public call-out met with silence. This was a direct line, a mutual understanding, a handshake agreement over the phone that will likely lead to one of the biggest crossover events in boxing history. Weeks ago, Paul had indeed called out Joshua, even flashing his phone on camera to show that Joshua had returned his call. At the time, it felt like a publicity stunt, another audacious claim from a man known for them. Now, it appears to be the undeniable truth. Paul's bold prediction: his chin is gone. But Paul, being Paul, couldn't resist adding a layer of bravado to his revelation. He believes he can beat Anthony Joshua. And his reasoning? A stunning, direct shot at Joshua's durability. "I think his chin is gone," Paul declared. "And especially if he fights another time or two in between the end of 2026, I love Anthony. He's always supported me. I've always supported him, but I just do believe I can beat him in a fight." This is where the fight moves beyond just a spectacle and into the realm of genuine athletic debate. Paul, who will need to move up in weight significantly to challenge Joshua, is not just banking on the hype, he's also making a very specific, and highly controversial, tactical assessment. Joshua's chin has been questioned before, particularly after the Ruiz losses. But to suggest it's gone is a bold claim, especially coming from a fighter still relatively new to the professional ranks, albeit one who has shown genuine power. Is this an overconfident boast, a calculated mind game, or a genuine belief rooted in Paul's assessment of Joshua's recent performances and the brutal wear and tear of a heavyweight career? Only time, and the fight itself, will tell. But it certainly adds another layer of intrigue to an already fascinating potential matchup. It fuels the narrative of the young lion challenging the wounded, yet still dangerous, veteran. The skeptics and the payday paradox. Naturally, the idea of Jake Paul stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua hasn't been met with universal acclaim or immediate widespread excitement from the traditional boxing purists. Joshua's longtime promoter and friend, Eddie Hearn, dismissed the matchup with a characteristic blend of sarcasm and pragmatism. "To be honest, I look at it, and I think Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua, look, for me, we'll do it for the banter, do you know what I mean?" Hearn said. For the banter. That phrase encapsulates the initial reaction of many within the boxing establishment. It's seen as almost comical, a novelty act rather than a serious sporting contest. And in many ways, they have a point. The skill gap between a developing boxer like Paul and a seasoned, Olympic gold medalist, former unified heavyweight champion like Joshua is immense. However, Hearn, ever the astute businessman, couldn't deny Paul's undeniable ability to generate hype and, more importantly, huge pay-per-view numbers. He termed Paul's challenge a wild moment, acknowledging the sheer audacity and marketability of it. And this is where the joke starts to become very real. Hearn, while perhaps not thrilled about the sporting implications, understands the financial ones. He pointed out that since Joshua isn't currently holding a title or directly eyeing contention in the immediate future, he might very well take the fight. Not for the glory, not for the belts, but for an easy payday. And that's the paradox of this fight. For Paul, it's the ultimate validation, the grandest stage, the biggest challenge of his burgeoning career. For Joshua, it's a massive injection of cash without the bruising, grueling demands of a traditional title eliminator. It's a chance to stay relevant, stay in the spotlight, and make an astronomical sum of money while doing so. In a sport increasingly driven by spectacle and financial reward, the traditional purity of the fight can sometimes take a back seat. The road ahead, a spectacle on the horizon. If this fight does materialize, and all signs from Jake Paul's camp suggest it's well on its way, it promises to be another record-breaking spectacle. The build-up alone will be unprecedented. Imagine the press conferences, the social media wars, the promotional tours. Paul's genius for self-promotion combined with Joshua's global appeal will create an undeniable media frenzy. Every casual fan, every curious onlooker, and even the most cynical boxing purist will likely tune in, if only to see the unthinkable. But beyond the spectacle, what does this mean for the fighters? For Paul, it's a chance to prove his critics wrong on the biggest stage imaginable. Can he truly hang with an elite heavyweight, even one perhaps past his absolute prime? It's a monumental task, but Paul has consistently shown a dedication to his craft and a willingness to take on challenges many deem impossible. For Joshua, it's a tightrope walk. A dominant performance could silence some of the recent doubts, reaffirming his status as a legitimate force, even if the opponent isn't a traditional top-tier heavyweight. But a poor showing, or worse, a surprising loss, could be catastrophic for his legacy. The stakes, despite the seemingly exhibition nature many might assign to it, are incredibly high for both men. The boxing world is holding its breath. Jake Paul is facing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. next month, a fight that will undoubtedly test his cruiserweight capabilities. And then, the long, winding road to 2026 begins, a road that could lead to the most unlikely, yet utterly compelling, heavyweight clash in recent memory. What's your take on this bombshell announcement? Is Jake Paul being overly confident in questioning AJ's chin and skills, or is there a genuine, albeit small, possibility he could pull off the unthinkable? Let us know in the comments below. Big thanks for tuning in. You can find links to our social media in the description below to join our boxing community. Until next time, keep your hands up and stay ready. We'll see you in the next video.